Chatting Shit with Ostique, the podcast series where we chat about shit with inspirational people from all walks of life. Today, we are joined by the wonderful and inspiring Lauren Woodhall. We hope you enjoy this conversation. So Lauren, welcome to Chatting Shit with Ostique.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. We've, for the listeners, we had a couple of tech issues about a week ago, so we're thrilled we can actually get this one in. To begin with, before we get started, would you mind just kind of introducing yourself a little bit, please, and perhaps touching on how you came to have your stoma?
So I'm Lauren. I'm 26 and I've had a stoma for going on 4 years now. So I had my stoma in March 2020, which people probably remember the date of because of COVID.
Yes.
I went into hospital in the January. So out of the blue. I was absolutely fine. Christmas, New Year, went out New Year. Not a problem. Went back into work for my first week back in 2020. Couldn't understand why I was going to the toilet so much. Kept having to run out of the office. I was mortified, was verging on having accidents at work. Never experienced anything like it. I was in the RAF at the time as a physical training instructor, so hopefully, relatively fit, relatively well. And I just couldn't understand what was going on. It was actually my other half, who's now my husband, who said to me, "Will you take a day off work?" And I was like, "No, I can't take a day off work because I'm going to the toilet. It's not like I've even got vomiting. It's not." I was like, "I feel fine in myself. I just can't leave the bathroom."
Yeah.
So I kind of carried on in work. And then one evening I went to the toilet and I didn't come back at home. And my other half came through and found me very kind of delirious. I think I'd lost so much fluid by that point that he actually phoned my parents because they were on a little staycation nearby, and asked them what to do. And they said to him, "Look, you're in work. Don't worry about going and sitting in the hospital with her all night. We'll take her because we're an hour down the road," which they usually aren't. They took me to the hospital. They sat in A&E with me. I was side roomed, being told that I just had DMV and that I was over exaggerating things, and that I needed to basically get a grip. I was actually told by I'm not sure what she was, whether she was a doctor or a nurse, but a member of staff came over to myself and my parents and said that they've actually got more serious people to deal with and that I needed to sort myself out and give my head a wobble, basically. That I was sat there complaining about going to the toilet. By this point, I was producing just pure blood, and my mum had to, because she was saying, "Can I have a sample catch thing, anything to kind of show you?" And they wouldn't help. They were just saying, "Oh, we've got other people." So eventually, my mum had to, whilst I was on the toilet, insist that a member of staff came to have a look, and it was only then that I got taken seriously because it was just full of blood. I got taken round to a ward at that point, and the doctor that I had assigned to me sat with me whilst I was on the toilet, giving me Oromorph because I was in so much pain, and he was sat with me in the bathroom whilst I was pushing on the toilet and he was syringing morphine into my mouth.
Oh my God.
So it kind of went from 0 to 100 in 24 hours. I was then in and out of hospital. They tried me on all sorts of treatments, which, people with Crohn's and colitis will know all sorts about, all of the steroid treatments, the topical treatments, the IV treatments.
Sorry, Lauren, to interject. Did you get a diagnosis then on that hospital visit? No, so they're just blindly trying some treatments to see.
Yeah, they just said, we'll try a mixture of things. They booked me in for a colostomy. A colostomy, God. No, they didn't. They booked me in for a what do you call it?
Colonoscopy.
Colonoscopy. That's the word I'm looking for. They booked me in for a colonoscopy, but that was in 3 weeks' time. So I was in hospital for those 3 weeks, and they were just trying me on all sorts of treatments. I think they had an idea, but obviously they couldn't diagnose anything. So they were trying me on all sorts. And then when I had the colonoscopy, they said that it was one of the worst cases of UC that they'd ever seen. And that my bowel was black at that point.
Oh, wow.
There was no blood supply to it. There was ulcers all over. And they were like, "We don't know how you went from no symptoms to this." And they basically said to me, you know, in more kind of dumbed down words rather than medical terms, that my colon had just died and there was no reason to it. So it was really kind of difficult to get my head around, because, you know, I've always been a runner, a swimmer. I was in the military. Like, I'd never had like anything wrong with me, if that's the right word. But so yeah, it was really difficult to get my head around. And because it was COVID, I was kind of all over the place with, they would discharge me for a few weeks to get a bed spare, and then I'd have to go back in because I'd go through the same thing. They'd kind of like pump me up with everything. I'd go home for a week, and then as that wore off, I'd become worse and worse, and then it would just start with pure blood again, which they said, if that starts, come back in. So that cycle went on until the last week of February, when I got taken in again, and they were doing their every time I went in, I had to go in for another colonoscopy, which was awful. And they did that one, and they came to me within about 4 hours of doing it and said, we need to get you to surgery today. And I was like, oh, why? And they said, like, it's totally died, and we're at risk of it going septic inside you, because your body is now like completely shutting the organ down. So I went down for surgery that night and came out the next morning, and that was Barry being born.
Barry's stoma.
Yeah, Barry bag.
Had they told you, when they said to you were going to take you into surgery, had they said specifically you were going to come out with a stoma bag?
Yeah. It had been a word that had been mentioned throughout, but I'd never really had it fully explained. The most I actually found out about it was going onto Instagram, when I was just sat in hospital. I never had a stoma nurse visit me before the surgery. I had a stoma nurse visit me after the surgery, but only once because of COVID. She came to see me in the ward, and that was it. And since then, I've never seen a stoma nurse.
Is that by choice, or because you just haven't had one?
I've just never had one. I've had access to one over the phone, but not a specific one. I've just had like the stoma nurse office number. But apart from that, it's just been, I think a lot of it was because of COVID, which I understand. But it's just kind of been a kind of learn on the go kind of thing.
Wow, that's a lot. You're in your early 20s. You've just basically heard about the word. Well, you've never had symptoms before. All of a sudden, you're in hospital with severe bleeding. Then all of a sudden, you hear about the word stoma, and then you wake up with a bag. That must have been, let alone physically, mentally, that must have been a lot to get your head around. How did you cope with that?
Badly, to start with. I went and sought out help through work. I wouldn't say, I would never ever talk about the RAF negatively, and this is where I'll have to be careful with what I say. I'd never talk about the RAF negatively. My husband's still serving, and I had 7 years of service that I loved. I got so many opportunities. I went abroad. I did sport for the RAF, representative sport. I loved the 7 years that I had, and I would never ever change the experience that I had, and I would never change the choice that I made to go in to the RAF. However, I was able to get help through the padres that are available, and you know, human resources and things like that, and that was great to talk. And that side of it was great. In terms of the mental side of kind of accepting a stoma, really not helped by being told that I could no longer do my job. I was trying to accept what had happened and the changes that were being made, alongside being told that I would never be able to go for a run. I'd never be able to teach a class. I'd never be, and I was saying, why? I don't understand why. And they said to me that I would never be normal again. And that was the wording that was used. That I have to get over myself and realise that I'm not going to be normal in the workplace. And that kind of made it really difficult, because I was seeing all of these positive posts about, you know, there's no difference to living with a stoma. Yes, there's people with complications that do happen, but a lot of people live with stomas very, very well.
Yeah.
And I was reading all of that online, and then I was being told by medical professionals that, no, it's, you know, you've just got to give up, basically.
Were those medical professionals your team of surgeons, etc., or medical professionals within the RAF?
Within the RAF.
Okay.
Yeah. And that was really, really difficult. I wasn't medically discharged, so I didn't have an official discharge due to my stoma, so it never got to that point. However, I was very heavily downgraded, which is the term within the military of like a limit that you can do. So whether you're deployable, whether you can teach on your own, whether you can go and do things unsupervised. And I was very heavily downgraded to the point where I wouldn't have been able to do my job.
Right.
So I made the decision to leave because I wouldn't. There was no career goal for me. I was downgraded so that I couldn't be promoted. I was downgraded so that I wouldn't be able to go and do sporting activities or outdoor activities, and due to the nature of my role,
Yeah. And
that
also
was my role.
I imagine that's a lot of who you are as a human being as well, and
Yeah.
you need that to, yeah.
Yeah, and I still do it today, just in my own time. So there's absolutely no reason why I couldn't have done it for professional work.
No, we've had other people who've served in the military on this podcast who've had surgery, who were told the same thing, who had a reversal because they were concerned that they would not be able to do their job. And they are currently doing their job, and they are physical training instructors, and they had their reversal reversed and are doing an amazing job. So I think, as well as everyone, you were more than capable of doing your job.
100%. Yeah. I think a lot of it, and whilst it was really upsetting to go through at the time, I think a lot of it is actually just due to a lack of knowledge.
Yeah.
Even though the people that were dealing with me were medical professionals, I'm not knocking their ability in any way. But I think a lot of it is due to lack of knowledge. Purely by one example was that I was asked to provide what do you call it, like a sample of my colon to prove that the infection wasn't there. And I was like, the whole thing is that I don't have that tissue. It's like asking me to provide a sample of my appendix when I've
had it removed.
And that was kind of really tricky to kind of explain that. I was told that I needed dressings for an open wound on my stomach when I showed them it, and they were like, "Oh, we need to get dressings for that." And I was like, "No, it's fine."
Yeah.
I think they thought that it had been some like surgery that had gone massively wrong, that I'd been left with an open part of it.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of it was just lack of knowledge. I was, when I had one consultation, I was sat with them and they Googled it, and they Googled a stoma and came up on images, and they turned to me and went, "Oh, it does look really sore. Are you okay to walk and sit?" And that's the thing. I think it was just a complete lack of awareness of what it actually was.
Yeah, I think especially doing this job, you see that there is a lot of naivety out there and not a lack of understanding at all as to what a stoma is. A lot of people have never even heard of it, which is a lot of like the work that we do trying to raise awareness.
Before I had it. I hadn't before I had it myself, which is why I think I am kind of allowing myself to be more understanding now, because I wouldn't have had a clue what it was if somebody came to me with that. My husband says that when he's doing adventure training at work, he gets, a list of names through as to who's in his group. And he said if he saw one of them a couple of years ago that said has a stoma, he'd be like, don't want them, don't know what that is,
no
don't
idea
know how to deal with it.
Yeah. Completely understand.
But he says, living with me that has one, he realises that it's completely harmless, and he forgets all the time until it starts chatting away and making noises, and then he's like, "Oh,
who are you?"
Yeah.
I want to come back to your recovery in just a second, but if you ended up taking the decision to leave the RAF, how soon after your surgery was that, and what has kind of been your career path since then?
I left. I began the process about 9 months after my surgery, and I was out within 12 months of my surgery.
Okay.
So I was out the year after. Since then, we've moved house due to his job, so we've moved to Wales, and I now work as a home carer. So I care for people with stomas, with catheters, with needs at home, that need that. Not necessarily a nursing support because they're through and beyond that stage, We go in to do all the day-to-day things that maybe they don't necessarily want family doing, or maybe they can't do themselves, and we do all of that.
Oh wow, that's amazing.
So I feel like I'm kind of being able to give back a little bit in something that I do know about myself.
That's an incredible thing to have done and to continue to do, and I'm sure they're exceedingly grateful to have you there as well. Especially, you don't necessarily find people doing those roles who have first-hand knowledge as well. I think that makes you uniquely equipped to have a conversation in a different way, and
yeah, definitely. I've just finished a degree, and my long-term goal is to convert that into nursing, to go into stoma nursing in the future.
Oh, you'll make an incredible stoma nurse.
So I'm hoping that, like you say, having that little, advantage, I don't know is the right word, because obviously if everybody's qualified, you're all qualified on the same playing field. But I'd love to be able to go into somebody my age at the time of having surgery, and them, see them going through the motions that I did, and being able to just kind of, lift my top up and say, I get it, and hoping that I might just see their face. And for me, that would be a complete kind of circle to be made, that I'd be able to then help them.
I think that would be absolutely incredible, both for you and for the person that you would be helping. The power of a shared experience in terms of this kind of support network, it cannot be underrated or underexplained. That we feel like we're working on something at the moment called Ostique Connect, which is about connecting ostomates who have had similar experiences and journeys, because it can be so different. Your experience was obviously wildly different to somebody else's, especially at certain ages, genders, etc. It can be so different. And to be able to hear somebody say, I've been in your position and it's going to be okay, must be hugely powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. And I didn't have that at the time, apart from through my phone screen, which is why I'd love to kind of change that experience for somebody else in the future.
In terms of your physical recovery from the surgery, you must have been super fit prior to this happening. And then I'm assuming throughout the kind of the few months that you had your intense symptoms, presumably you lost quite a bit of weight and strength through that, because that's a lot for your body.
Yeah.
How was the recovery from the surgery after all of that?
It was difficult. It was, it was kind of my first experience into any major surgery anyway. I'd never had any sort of surgery. So it was kind of being thrown in at the deep end with having abdominal surgery. It was, I'd say, like, you don't realise how much you use your abs until you've had surgery on them. Like talking, breathing, laughing, like anything affects that area. My other half had broken his leg at the time, and he'd just had knee surgery.
Oh God.
So our house could have been some sort of like reality show. It was so good. Because he was trying to help me, but he was on crutches too, and he had his leg in a big brace. So there was kind of me with like a little walking stick to lean on, getting from place to place, him hopping about the house. And we had no help because of COVID as well.
Yeah.
So it was a bit of a nightmare couple of months, but in a nice way. The lockdown actually helped me to go at my own pace. There was no pressure to go out. There was no feeling of missing out on things. There was no pressure to go to work. There was, so that was great, that side of it, in its own little funny way. But in terms of scarring and things like that, I think I was really, really lucky, in that my scarring is so minimal.
Wow.
Like I've just got my stoma. There's nothing else to be seen. They went in through like, it's really hard to describe, like underneath my belly button.
Okay.
So where, like, because I've got like an inward belly button, so where you would get like a belly button piercing, they've gone in through there.
Got it.
And then I've got a tiny little keyhole scar on my hip, and that's it.
Wow.
So they did really, really well. And I've seen people with a lot of kind of like open surgery scarring, and I fully take my hat off to people, because to get around that mentally must have been a lot harder than I went through. You've got the bag. and then you've got a lot of scarring on top of that as well, which only just kind of shows what you've been through. So whilst at the time it's so difficult to get through, like, you know, they're something to be nothing but proud of. But yeah, I did come out at the lucky end of it with having really, really minimal scarring.
In terms of, I feel like that's just kind of sparked something in my head, which I think is quite important. Body image and kind of your relationship to your body.
Yeah.
Has that changed in any way since you've been through this experience? And if so, how?
Yeah, definitely. I was never somebody that was comfortable with my body image totally anyway. You know, I always, you know, I grew up a runner. I grew up being involved in sports. So I was always kind of conscious of how I looked in, you know, when I was racing in a crop top and little shorts, and, you know, I was always conscious of that. You know, I think in this day and age as well, there's so much pressure on people to, you know, have the best body that they can have and have that like really positive body image. And I think it's only natural for everybody to have those down days and to have those kind of insecurities about themselves. And I think it's just enhanced in this day and age with things like Instagram and TikTok. And so that massive change to then, you know, what was already a body that I kind of had to broadcast as being really fit and healthy, and, you know, because of the job that I was in, you know, to then have such a change to it was really, really difficult. I'm kind of at the point now where I think just those 4 years between being, you know, early 20s and now 26, and like they're such important years in kind of, you know, realizing what matters. And my other half has never been anything but supportive. And I think that's helped me massively, because he's never, ever had a bad word to say, never said anything that's made me feel conscious in any way. He's let me go at my own pace. You know, there was never any pressure to, you know, do anything in terms of intimacy. There was never any pressure to be comfortable with it and, you know, just get on with it. He let me do my own thing, and he still does. I still have days where I'm dead conscious of it. Of course I am.
Yeah.
You know, in terms of intimacy, stoma bags do chat away. It's not the nicest thing to hear it making all of its noises when you're trying to feel that little bit nice and trying to feel attractive to somebody. It's not nice. It's not nice to feel and hear your bag kind of rustling against another person. Not nice. Yeah. It's not something that you'd consider attractive, and you've just, I was going to say you've just got to get around that, but that's the wrong wording, because you can't just get around it. But I think over time you've got to try and adjust your mindset to that. That's part of what makes you you. And although it does, I've always been so conscious of, you know, I've always pushed forward saying that my stoma will never define me. I don't want to become, you know, Lauren who has a stoma. Everybody who knows me knows that I have one. You know, it's not something that I hide. I'm very open to talk about it. But I would hope that, you know, we got married just over a month ago.
Congratulations.
And I would thank you. I would hope that looking back on those photos, in the same way that I don't look at those photos and think about my bag, I would hope that nobody else in that room noticed it on the day. And I'd be over the moon if everybody sat there and went, no, we did, you know, we know that you have one, but we never ever noticed it. I wasn't in a fitted dress, but I wasn't in a big meringue either. I didn't try to overly hide it.
Yeah.
But I still wanted to be comfortable. And I would hope that, you know, when my friends and family see, you know, pictures of us on holiday, pictures of the wedding, pictures of us doing our day-to-day thing, you know, I don't think that my stoma jumps to the front of the photos at all. I don't think that my stoma is at the forefront of what we do in life, and I love that, because we still do everything that we did. We still, you know, go hiking. We do sports together. We go to the gym. We do lots of outdoor stuff together. You know, we go on holiday. There's nothing that I don't do because of my stoma. Apart from eat peanuts, and that's it. That's the only limitation that I have.
I think we can take that in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, definitely.
What was it like being a younger person and going through this surgery? Did you find that that made it do you think that made a difference at all in how confident you were to speak about it, or potentially how easy it was to find other people to talk to about what you were going through? And do you think a lot of people have come on here who have been younger when they have gone through this situation and said that a lot of the kind of material they were given, for
Mm.
example, in hospital, had elderly people at a garden
Yeah.
centre, for example, on the front. So it felt very disconnected from their experience. I wonder if you had that and how you kind of overcame that or dealt with that.
Yeah, definitely. I think stomas are definitely geared towards the older generations, which I understand because it's something that is highly amongst the older generation. However, like I've said, to find anything on younger people, it was just through social media. What you've just said about the material that you're given is very kind of driven towards these kind of AI style photos of elderly people having a cup of tea and chatting about their stoma, and it's not like that.
Yeah.
And there was, although there was direction to kind of what can I do to go on a walk with my stoma, and what can I do to tell my family and friends about my stoma, there was nothing about how do I dress with it, like how do I go to the pool, how do I go through security at an airport, like
Yeah, that
things
comes up a
like that,
lot.
things that you do in your everyday life, especially as a younger person. I know how to go on a walk, that's fine. Like it was more, how do I do all of these actual lifestyle practical things? Because seeing a leaflet that says, how do I go outside, I was like, is that what I'm limited to now? Like, is
Yeah.
that my most challenging thing that's going to come of this? And no, there needs to be more things on, like, right, you've got a stoma. Here's how to live your life that you've already been living. Here's how to fly with one. Here's how to, find a right pair of jeans. Everyday things like that, that make you feel that little bit more confident that, it's not going to massively change everything.
I think that's such a good point. I've It's so strange that the security at the airport, being on an aeroplane, and
Yeah.
then will the bag explode is a very
Yeah.
common question. Things like that come up all the time, and there doesn't seem to be any kind of material that addresses that. And whilst I understand that obviously it can't cater for everybody, and I suppose just following surgery, the main things are this is how you change your bag, this is how you sort of get back to the health that you were before.
Mm.
It feels like there's definitely kind of a big area that actually social media has managed to fill with people sharing their stories and actually being able to answer questions and help people get through those kinds of situations.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I say I learned all of that from social media, and knowing what to expect at things like airport security.
Yeah.
That was all things that I learned through social media. I never kind of got any material on that.
From a kind of fitness, you just said you kind of gone back to all of the things that you did before, hiking, everything. Was there anything that you were unable to do following your stoma surgery, or do you feel like you've gone back to pretty much the exact level of kind of fitness and ability that you were before?
Exact level.
That's
And
amazing.
I know that I'm very lucky to be able to say that I'm not going to blanket all ostomates with, we can all do everything and anything, because there are people who do have complications, and I'm very aware of that, and I don't want to be insensitive to other people. But personally, to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other people, with stomas, I've not had to change anything. If anything, it's easier because I don't have to find a toilet when we're halfway up a mountain.
You don't need to
Like,
think about that.
no. We went, we did a couple of weeks in a motorhome around Scotland, and I did, like, in the middle of the night, if my other half needed to go to the loo, he'd have to get out, get in the cold, wrap up, go dig a hole. I was like, I'll see you soon.
See you later, I'm
I just do a
good.
bag change. I didn't have to do any of that. And, in a way, he was quite, like, jealous of my situation, that I was just doing a bag change in the bed, comfortable,
Yeah.
fine by me. You know, there's nothing that it stopped us doing at all. I'd say the only thing that I noticed that I do differently to other people is that I do empty my bag a lot more frequently than other people would go to the toilet. Part of that is that I've got a high output. I can't help that. Part of it is because I empty it more than I probably would need to if I let it run to a full bag every time, just out of comfort.
Yeah, I get that.
It's not something that hinders me. It's not something that I have to do, but I don't want to be carrying around kind of a third of a bag all the time.
No,
so, you know, if I can feel something in there, I do just pop and empty it. If I didn't have access to a toilet, I wouldn't need to. You know, and I think that's something that's hard to kind of paint the picture of to people, because they still see me go into the toilet regularly. But it's, you know, I then say, but if it wasn't available, I wouldn't have to. It's just because,
choice.
you know, yeah, because naturally, you know, I don't want that little warm feeling against my hip. And also, you know, I go into pregnancy mode if I'm out and about and I don't have access to a toilet. You get conscious of this like bulk on your side. So I just pretend I'm early pregnant and put my hand in that place. But because, you know, people will look and be like, why has she got like a little divot on her hip? And, you know, that's what you get conscious of. It's not something that, you know, stops me doing anything practically. It's just mindset, that's all. And you just become a little bit conscious of it. Which is why I go to the toilet more frequently than other people. It's only out of vanity.
I completely understand that, both from a what it might look like perspective, but also the feeling. I really understand that. Like, if you can feel it in there and you have access to a toilet, there's no reason that doesn't harm you in any way. You might as well.
Yeah,
totally get it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Lauren, I have one more question that we ask everybody who comes on the pod, which is, what would you say to somebody who has stoma surgery coming up? And that could be perhaps a couple of things that they might expect, or things that perhaps they should be aware of that you wish you had known before.
The piece of advice I was given by a really good friend of mine, I knew her all the way through growing up. She, you know, she's my parents' age, and I knew her all the way through growing up through the church. And she contacted me when I was going through my surgery, and you know, as a lot of people did, just saying, you know, good luck. You know, we've heard that you've had this surgery. You know, hope everything's okay, and all of those kind of messages.
Really kind.
Yeah, she messaged me and said, did you ever notice that I had one when you were growing up? And I said no. And she said, all the way through you knowing me, you know, up to now, she still has one. And she says, you know, it's never affected me. And did you ever notice it as a child? No. And that gave me so much confidence that it was going to be fine, because she was never someone that I considered different, that I considered abnormal, like never.
Yeah.
And I never knew that. And she said to me that her one piece of advice was to look at it, because that's something that she avoided for weeks.
Yeah.
And she said to me, you know, whilst it's really difficult, get used to it straight away. It's not going to change. You know, you've got to do that. You've got to look at it. You've got to explore it. You've got to realize what it is, where it is, you know, what it looks like, and what your bag looks like. What, you know, you've got to just take a dive in. You know, you're gonna have leaks. You're gonna have complications. You're gonna have times where you really don't want it there anymore. But you've got to just go through the motions and experience all of it to then kind of become okay with it. I would never ever choose to have a stoma, but I'm okay with it. I'm okay with having it. And in my head, the way that I kind of justify it to myself is that, you know, when you go through those days of like, why me? Why did, you know, what did I do so wrong? Maybe somebody else may not have coped with it, which is why it was given to me. And that's my kind of mindset to get me through those days of thinking, why have I got to have this? You know, maybe the next person that you know, it was due to come along to, that didn't get it, couldn't have coped with it in that way. And maybe that's why everybody out there who's got a stoma, we've been chosen to have them because we had the mindset to cope with it. And that's something that massively helps me get through those days where I'm thinking, why me? For people going through surgery, that are due to have surgery imminently, day 3 is really hard. And I was told that the morning that I came out of that surgery, a girl in the ward said to me, "You'll be fine until you get to day 3, and that's when it hits you." And I never I was like, right, okay, thank you. And honest to God, woke up on day 3, I thought my world had ended. Day 3 is such a real thing, because all of your meds are kind of started to wear off. You're kind of sick of laying in the same position. You kind of come back to reality of the novelty of the surgery is worn off, and you're thinking like, holy shit, this is it.
Yeah.
And that day 3, I remember, like messaging my mum, messaging my other half, being like, I'm not coming home, I'm done. Like, that day 3 is so real. And if people know to expect it, you know that then day 4 is there too. And you'll get to it.
Thank you for all of those pieces of advice, because every single one of them was brilliant, and I know will be massively helpful. The day 3 thing I have not heard before, so that will be enormously helpful to people.
Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense, but no one's actually ever said it before, so thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you in general for being here and being so open and honest. And I'm really excited for where your career in stoma nursing is going to take you. I think you're going to be absolutely fantastic.
Oh, thank you. Fingers crossed.
Thank you so much for being here, and hopefully we'll see you again on the pod soon. Have you seen the new Ostique skins yet? Ostique skins are revolutionary ostomy pouch covers that were created to make the wearer feel confident, sexy and powerful in all of life's moments. From moments of intimacy to lounging by the pool, conquering a workout or simply heading out to lunch, skins have you covered. Even better, they're compatible with all major colostomy and ileostomy bags. Ostique skins are available in a range of colours and skin tones, and they're made from a revolutionary material that's completely waterproof, high quality, soft and comfortable. Skins are easy to use, even with reduced dexterity, and they work with both closed and drainable bags. Plus, skins are also environmentally friendly and vegan. There are 4 bundles available to buy now, and you can also purchase individual skins. Head to ostique.co.uk to find out more.